You're like, yeah, everyone in the Army is just like Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
Like, there's not one guy who isn't like that all the time. And even when I was talking about The Undertaker, like, I thought all morticians dressed like that. Like, I thought they all had, like, you know, a big
death makeup,
dude, a big round hat and like the big tie, and even wore like purple gloves. And like, yeah, if I go to a funeral and I don't see that, like, is this really a funeral? I don't even fucking, I don't know. And I also thought Paul Bearer, like, I didn't know what his role, like, I was like, do all Undertakers travel around with a fat, weird, whiny guy? Like, I didn't know exactly what the fuck that was.
Dude, my brother-in-law, he just talked about bringing his youngest, he's 6 years old. He brought him to Allentown. So it was like $60 each first in Philadelphia for like WrestleMania was $300 each.
Dude.
But always going to remember, he said he still remembers when he was like close up, Paul Bearer and The Undertaker were coming down the aisle and it was dark. He said he'll never forget it. He was,
of course, yeah,
12 years old or whatever.
And that's
scared as shit.
That's the type of thing. Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. Like, I want to somehow be afraid of a professional wrestler again.
Erwin, our shyster.
Oh my God,
You're never gonna be
IRS.
afraid of that. Yeah,
IRS.
Yeah,
like that's
another great gimmick. Someone you're not going to be afraid of, but you're going to hate.
But you're going to hate. He's the one of the most hateable gimmicks in wrestling ever, and it's because, like, what person doesn't hate the IRS?
Right,
it's a dude who's going to take your fucking money.
Democrat, Republican, we can both agree. We hate the
It's like bipartisan. Straight down the line. It's like, well, who do we hate? This fucking guy.
Yeah, no matter what.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, these Saudis. Fuck these Saudis. Fuck them. They're killing our troops. But honestly, when we come home, when it comes down to brass tacks, I don't like the brass tacks. Fuck you. Fuck this guy. It's like, I know he represents America to a T. It's kind of crazy when you talk about the most American wrestler. Yeah, sure, Hogan's up there. Slaughter is up there. IRS is waving the flag harder than anyone else. He is capitalism to the nth degree, and you cannot win. It's kind of like, even watching him lose, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah. Wait, that guy, April 15th. Fuck. Like, you're like, fuck.
Are we recording? Or
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We're on. We're just talking. We're talking.
Oh,
we're bullshitting. Keep it.
I thought we were still warming up.
No. Dylan gave me the point, and he does it.
Yeah.
I try not to count down. That's my favorite part from Wayne's World. We can see your head nodding.
Well, dude, and it's so funny because I was such a good, big WWE fan growing up. And then one of my friends came in with a medal that he won wrestling. And I was like, I want to win that. I went out, and the first thing I remember my midget wrestling program going, if you're here because you love the WWE, this is not for you. And I'm like, no, of course not. No, of course.
Yeah, dude.
But that was totally why I was there.
It was one of those things where, like, you don't, like, I started wrestling when I was 5.
Okay.
So, like, you watch wrestling on TV and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And you think, like, holy shit. And this is like, so around that, like 5, so that's like 1990.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm watching, like, the new, like, out of the golden era of WWF going into the new era of WWF, and you're like, all these over-the-top characters, and everyone's just punching each other in the face. You're like, yeah, I guess I could get into wrestling. And then, like, you get there, and everyone's wearing gay singlets, and you're like, what is this? Like, this isn't what I wanted.
Very few guys wore a full singlet, like Kurt Angle.
Oh, I know. Nobody, like, dude, and I honestly, for a long time, and we got in trouble for doing it, we would wear
Bret Hart. Maybe.
We would wear the one thing, one strap, like, out of the giant, like, put that other strap on your shoulder, like, God damn it. Like, I just want to look intimidating to whoever I'm wrestling out there. But
nothing intimidating about a singlet.
Not at all. You look so stupid, especially when you got to wear sweatpants underneath it.
Yeah.
And like a shirt because it's freezing out and you have no idea what the fuck. You just look like a dumb dickhead all the time.
My mom used to bribe me and said if I won, I could get a donut afterwards.
I went
out and tried my hardest.
Yeah. How'd you do?
I did all right.
Yeah?
man. Yeah, I ended up
Yeah.
wrestling in college, man.
Oh yeah, see, you took it the whole. You went the whole shebang.
Yeah.
I stopped in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I stopped in 8th grade because, like, you know what? I could wrestle. I could be pretty good, but titties are over there. But budding 8th grade titties are over there by the pool.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not gonna.
Priorities.
Oh, without a doubt. That was the thing too. When I stopped wrestling, and then when I was in school, we had one of my health teachers, Mr. Racich, not racist, Racich. He.
It's funny how you still remember it.
Oh my God, I remember every one of my up until like 9th grade. I remember every one of my teachers' names.
Ironically, the same time you got into drinking and girls.
It just starts going out the window.
It's a little cloudy.
Completely. I was like, I don't give a fuck anymore. And fucking Miss Sellers could see me now. She'd be so disappointed in everything. But I remember Mr. Racich, he saw me in the hallway. He's like, all right, Shanner, he's like, we still need somebody like you on the team. And it was because I didn't weigh a lot, but I was strong enough to throw these other
you were squirrely
fucking idiots around. And he's like, we need somebody like you in the weight class. He's like, we're missing that part. We have all these big guys and we got these really, really tiny guys. He's like, you're right in the middle. You're actually what we need. I was like, I don't give a fuck. And then he was pushing, instead of wrestling, he was pushing cross country.
Okay.
He was like, I know you can endure it. He was like one of those guys that like pumped you up no matter what you were doing.
Right.
Like he would do that. Like if we were in health class and we had to take like a week review like exam like of what we learned, and you would see kids like kind of like rubbing their head like, I don't fucking remember. He would like come out of nowhere, like out of the shadows, like, hey, I see you struggling right now. And it is hard to remember all those organs in the human body, but I tell you right now, you know where the lungs go, you know where the heart is, and it's in the middle of your chest. Now don't worry about the gallbladder, even though you need the gallbladder. You're like, fuck. God, you just don't want to let somebody like that down.
Yeah, you're weirdly passionate,
but also always in your corner, like like no matter what you do. And that's the thing too. I'm like, I don't want to fucking run cross country. He's like, you know what? I like that passion. just like, I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to drink Smirnoff Ice in the woods.
Yeah.
And try to finger this chick named Amber. Let me go. Let me live my life. God damn it.
What's Amber up to now?
Oh, she's dead. This is the End Podcast with Ryan Shanner. I'm joined by the one and only Soul Joel Richardson. Thank you so much for being on the goddamn show. Soul Joel, where can people find you? What can you promote? What are you doing?
Yeah, so Soul Joel's on Facebook and Instagram, souljoels.com. My personal Instagram is at SJP Comedy. I'm just put out a book.
Yeah.
So it's
congratulations.
Not funny.
Perfect.
Because I want to cut the legs out from anybody else that wants to make fun of me. Not funny is how we got here. I basically wrote being in this business for 15 years, finally opened up a comedy club, and right before the pandemic, went from 1 day a week to 5 days a week, and then the biggest global pandemic happened.
I know, man.
Just complete.
Just
bad timing.
I got to be honest with you. I was so impressed with the way it was, dude. When they're like, yeah, he did this, I was like, fuck. When I heard, I was like, oh no, what? Like the worst time to do it. I was like,
yeah.
God damn. And when I found it was in Royersford, I was like, oh, finally, something in my hometown that somebody will fucking do something with that goddamn piece of shit area.
Yeah.
And then that happened. I was like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Dude, it was crazy, man. Just trying to deal with all that. And I had so many people. The reason why I wrote the book too is that some people knew me from doing shows before and like Valley Forge, and then, but a lot of people they'll come to like bingo now, and they're like, "You're a comedian," like they have no idea, like my whole story. So I wanted to just have one spot where I just tell my story and put it out there.
So that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's just wild, man.
You could follow it up like OJ did and have a book called "If I Made Them Laugh."
Well,
you know what I mean? Like if I did.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Is how
this would have been, but I just, so part of the book is I was in the car, Giannis Pappas and James Madden, and Giannis told me, he's like, listen, he goes, you could be a great middle act. and probably have a good 20, 25 minutes, maybe even a half hour. He goes, but you were given the ability to produce shows and be the best that ever lived. Why don't you embrace that? And it was like bittersweet. It was like a backhanded compliment.
I totally understand what you mean.
But it was like that's the hard knocks life that I needed. That was like the advice that I needed to realize. I was like, if I want to do this for a living, this is how I'm gonna be. Like, dude, I can never do what you do. Go on stage and be funny for 45 minutes. But I enjoy going and warming up the crowd a little bit and like telling them, I'm like, these are my guys. This is who's funny. But
I mean, even that right there, the fact that you know that.
Self-aware.
The fact that you know that
Yeah.
makes you leaps and bounds ahead of like people I know right now.
Yeah.
That are like still doing, and like I can't talk shit. I mean, like I'm still like fucking working. Like I don't know, I still have a fucking day job. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. But there are some people who are like, yeah, man. Once I get on like Comedy Central, like or once I get my Netflix special, or when Comedy Central was still around, they're like, once I get this and do this and do this, I'm like, dude, we are living in a world of illusion.
Oh yeah.
And some people just cling to it, and it's like I don't know. Like how long, like I personally, every time I see that, I'm like, I hope that's not me. I hope not only is that not me, I hope people don't see me as that. Like, I hope people aren't like, look at that fucking guy still every day showing up to work like he's going to get that promotion. It's like, no, I don't know if that'll ever fucking happen. But you know where your strengths are, and you fucking flexed all that muscle. And it's an amazing thing that you did.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was even like Sydney was... dropped in and wanted to he was doing an audition, so he wanted to do 5 minutes. I had a comic coming from DC and hit traffic, car accident, a tree fell on 495.
Jesus.
And I was like, he almost missed the show, but he didn't. And Cindy just looked at me, goes, you still perform, right? And I was like, yeah, man. I go, but I don't always want to perform. I like giving the audience to. He goes, just brush off the... And I ended up like having a great set.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's like in the back pocket if I need it.
Yeah, that's always good to know. You're like a Swiss Army knife, dude. You know? Do you think anybody...
I didn't know there were scissors in there.
Yeah, it's like, do you think anybody... Dude, there was Swiss Army knives that had a spoon. I'm like, what is this for?
Yeah.
Like, I would be more depressed if I saw someone eating with it. It's like, yeah, I still got it if I need it. It's like, dude, that's definitely for heroin. Yeah. There's nothing... There's nothing on that thing that like I think people would use. Is just like, oh, that's you don't need that. Yeah. But the fact that you know you can if you need to, and that that's a great thing that you understood. You got it. You had a moment where someone was like, "Look, man, here's the thing," and you didn't take that as like "fuck you." Right. As some people would.
Absolutely. In this business, you either have empaths or you have sociopaths.
Seriously.
There is one or the other.
And a lot of people in your position would be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I know what I'm meant to do and I'm going to do it. And it's like, sure. And and that's great. You believe it. And that's great. You want to follow it. And I'll never even say no. If I said like, look, you're not that great at this. And they were like, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. I'm like, I would turn into Mr. Racist. I'd be like, I love your passion. Get out there and fail. Get out there and fuck up every day of your life. I would still support whatever they're gonna do, but like if you told someone like, yo, you're not good. Yeah. Or you're not good at what you're doing, but you have and can do all of this other shit in that same realm, and you can do. A lot of people be like, I never thought of it that way. But I'm still going to do what I know my job is. But you honestly, you interpreted all of that as a positive and not a negative. Right. And that is great.
Well, the one thing I try to do too is like I put Soul Joel's on the label. Like, no, if they're going to come out to a show, they know it's going to be a good one. If my name's on it, it's the same way. Like I could just consider myself a salesman and I'm going to sell Philly Takeover. Yeah. Dude, they just know if they see Philly Takeover, it's going to be the best comics of Philadelphia. And whether we did it in Stone Harbor or at my place, man, dude, we sold tickets, man. Yeah, and people loved it.
That was and the Stone Harbor show cracked me the fuck up.
You're in a movie theater.
I'm in a movie theater.
You're welcome, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate you. We were going up against Megan. Thank you so much. Dude, I'm walking in and you just see people going into men. I'm like, maybe I want to go see Megan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like,
Dude, there's a line out the door.
I was like, do I want to see these guys I don't know, or do I want to see a fucking robot kill people? I don't know what I want.
We're on vacation. Is it possible we have time for both?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Let's throw it up. We're here all night. But the other thing that cracked me up was that it was a beach town, off season, and people in the crowd, I think the youngest person in the crowd was maybe 45 years old.
Yep.
So, like, we're getting in there, and I'm, like, watching the seats fill up. I'm like, hell yeah, hell yeah.
Which is weird for a 9 o'clock show.
Exactly. There were some people like, you are way past your bedtime. Like, who the fuck let you out of here?
Yeah. It's possible one of them fell asleep.
That I guarantee they definitely did.
Yeah.
And it was like I was kind of blown away the responses we were getting, and I was like, oh, this is cool. But I also remember as people were leaving, there were some of them just like, I don't even know what that was. I don't even know.
A comic one time pointed out, they pointed out that they think that the problem is that the chairs are too comfortable. Because they're because you're talking about in season, you're talking about you go on the beach, you have a couple of drinks, you go and shower, you have something to eat, and then you sit in these huge leather, like almost recliner.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, comedy's supposed to be in a cold room where it's uncomfortable and you're sitting next to strangers.
Sure.
But you sit there and you're like in the comfort of a movie.
Yeah. That's, you know what, man? It's like, that's, if someone's like, look, I really wanted to pay attention to your set.
But
Corinthian.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Like, it's heated seats.
Who can compete with this?
How could I? How it reclines. Yeah. It's like, damn, I guess you're right that the chair is more entertaining than my fucking stupid face.
Dude, you created this huge network of guys where, Sydney, David James, you guys are all like friends. And when you guys did our podcast, I think it was minute 15 where you and Sydney were like, so what's this podcast all about?
Yeah, it was.
We were riffing for.
That's kind of like the best part about everyone in that little, like, in the Philadelphia scene. It's like we all have known each other forever.
Yeah.
And that is like, such a very good foundation of like, exactly what no one's like an alien. Everyone kind of understands one another fairly well. So like, even when you're not like, and I wouldn't say none of us have like, I mean, you're going to get people like, sometimes you're like, fuck that guy right now. But then like in a month, you're like, that guy's all right. It's like people go back and forth, but it's like, we've known each other for so long that it's almost like, even if we went, it's kind of like if you ever have a friend that like moves away.
Yeah.
And they're gone for like 10 fucking years.
But you just pick up the phone.
Right back where that's exactly how all those guys are. And it's like, that in itself is such a fucking sweet deal, because I've been in situations where I've met people and like, right away. I think it's stand up, and I'm pretty sure it's similar with like sports or anything. You meet people one or two times and you're like, man, fuck that dude. Like, I will never get along with that guy. And then there's times you meet somebody and in 10 minutes you're like, all right, you're cool, you'll always be cool. And then there are some people who had to grow on you. There's some people who got to grow on you. And I've been in those situations too. I've probably been one of those guys, because I'm pretty sure some people have met me when I've been blackout drunk and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? And I totally understand that.
Well, dude, you've been 15 years now? Or
10. Or 11.
11. So I'm sure there's guys that you started with that aren't even doing it anymore, right? So this is a wild story. So my oldest niece, she's 15. She's playing water polo. And she got in the Olympic developmental program for like her age group.
Great.
So she went down to Dallas. I find out that my buddy who I started my first open mic with at the Stress Factory 15 years ago, actually it's like 17 years ago now, but him and I produced my first show together where we didn't make any money. It was just, we gave the $20 to the owner of the bar, just so it was open bar for 2 hours, just so we can get our friends there.
Wait a minute. You gave $20 to the bartender and it was open bar for 2 hours?
Yeah. I set this up. Yeah. I mean, this is like 15 years ago.
That is sick.
Dude, but we packed the place out. We had 100 people and was 4 of us. And one of the guys now, he was working for ESPN, and he's the United States women's water polo announcer.
Oh,
so he
awesome.
travels. He went to the Olympics. He travels with them. So I texted him, dude, exactly what you just said. We hadn't talked maybe in 5-6 years. I see him on Facebook all the time.
Yeah,
commenting
yeah.
back and forth on social media. So it feels like we've seen each other.
Sure.
But we haven't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
caught up.
Yeah.
But I texted him like, hey man, hope all is well. Happy New Year. I go, he's in the book, my book that I'm writing. Like I mentioned him like 2 or 3 times because we started together. And I go, hey, are you going to be in Dallas this weekend? My niece is headed there. And he's like, yo, what? He's right back. Like, I'm not going to be there, but, hope all is well. And he's going to get eyes on my niece and hopefully an interview. Well, they put her on the United States water polo Instagram.
Oh, that's great.
100,000 followers. But she scored a goal. So she kind of like.
How does that even look? I don't know dick about water polo. All I know is
So after I told that story, like I got some other questions.
I was like,
Let's back up.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I do know there is a ball involved.
Yeah.
And there is a smaller net,
Yeah.
and you just throw it.
Yeah. So it's it's like 6-on-6. And but apparently it's like really dirty, like under the water, like pulling each other, like and
Whoa.
yeah. But yeah, they start out as like
let's go into the dirty part of water polo.
Yeah.
There's some wild shit.
but yeah, all these like girls and guys, they're all like jacked out of their minds. They're good
course.
swimmers with how it starts, and but they have to have like a really good like strong upper body, and they're treading water the whole time because you can't touch the bottom.
Oh,
of the
you're
pool.
not allowed to touch the
Bottom
bottom?
of the pool now.
What?
Yeah.
That seems like horse shit. Dude, that's another thing too, is like when I was a kid, we didn't have like we had a public pool, but like our high school and our middle school didn't have a pool.
Okay.
So like if you wanted to be on, like we had a swim team,
Yeah.
but like they had to go to a different high school.
Yeah,
or like
same with me growing up
all the time.
Yeah, it was like the community house. Or
yeah,
whatever.
so like there were times where I remember like, again, you live in the same small town as your fucking teachers and everybody, so like you'll be at a pool and they'll be like, hey, I like the way you dived off of that. I was like, dude, I was doing bacon and eggs on the fucking tiny dive. It's like you can't just do that off of a ledge. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But they were always, I'll give it to the sports, all the guys involved in like, football, basketball, baseball. Every coach was just like scouting constantly. They're just like, I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could try that on the field. It's
Right.
like, what are you talking about?
This will translate.
Dude, it's just like, I would love that to happen more often. But you don't see it. Like, I would love to see, like some kid throwing eggs at a house. Like just pelting the front door and windows. And then like he throws one and it breaks glass. And the guy comes out, he's like, you fucking do that again.
Yeah.
Just like,
I think you'd be my middle reliever on the baseball
Wait
team.
a minute. Did you see the way he's like, he broke the fucking, like he did. They broke the windows. Like, yeah, honey, I know. But the kid's got a cannon on him and he's going to take us to states this year. Like, that's what I hope for all the time. Like, and I thought that was going to be, as a kid, I thought that's how I was going to get discovered.
Yeah.
Was doing something really stupid and then having like someone pull over like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you just shit? Did you just shit your pants while running?
Yeah.
We can use that somewhere.
Turns out you were just setting yourself up for a life in comedy.
Yeah, it turned or a life of just weird embarrassment all the time trying to impress women. That's what most of my life is.
Yeah.
Was weird embarrassment trying to impress the opposite sex. And I'm pretty sure that's most dudes. But because I was like not the most skilled.
Yeah.
And this goes back to me talking earlier about like just I've been falling my whole life.
Yeah.
And like I knew at an early age that chicks, and like I don't know if they do anymore. I think the chicks digging danger has changed exponentially now. I don't know what danger is to women now, or like at least girls in 8th grade. Like I guess it's guns. I guess I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. Like if a chick saw, like, is there any dudes that are in 8th grade? If there's 8th grade listeners or watchers, I want you to call in. Is there any dudes just building ramps out of wood and like rocks and trying to jump anything that will easily fucking break their arm or their leg or their back anymore. Like,
Oh yeah, my next door neighbor growing up, he built a half pipe.
Yeah.
And all you hear as you're like eating dinner was vroom, vroom,
It's
vroom. But that dedication.
it's one of those things where like if someone's like, yo, we built this ramp, I'd be like, nah, I'm definitely gonna go off it. But I would be like, I wonder how I'm gonna do it, or like this or that. If someone's like, yo, I just want to let you know my 3 cousins are showing up and they're pretty good looking. Yes, in where I grew up, we did refer to our good looking cousins. That's exactly what we did. Don't make that face, Dylan. Well, everyone had good looking cousins.
Well, I just feel like now there's more opportunity. Like if we're into wrestling now, the only thing you could do is the WWE.
Yeah.
But now you got MMA.
Oh, I know.
If you're into skateboarding back then, my next door neighbor, eventually he was like the 35-year-old trying out for the X Games. But now you got the X Games.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have all that.
I'm actually glad I grew up when the UFC was still like not that known about, because like if I grew up in my before my preteen years, if I grew up in a time where like MMA is what it is now,
yeah,
dude, I would be doing that in the front yard instead of trying to do a vertical suplex. I'd be like, I gotta land a Kimura, like, or I gotta a flying knee or some shit. And
would have channeled that
exactly, really hurting my brother in a different fucking technical way. Like, yeah, sure, I did knock his teeth out, but it was flush.
Technically, Mom, it's his fault. He did not tap out.
I was gonna say no one stopped it. Where was the ref? Yeah. Where was the ref? No one called this shit.
Yeah, he knew the rules.
He knew what he was signing up for,
and he's older.
Exactly. That's kind of like, but I think now it's like, because I wonder if that does happen. There's got to be like older brothers who, instead of doing like wrestling moves to their younger brothers, are like doing weird ground and pound shit. It's like, dude, we had that, but my older brother, like, if you think for 1 second, if I walked into a room and caught him on the wrong day, he's like, guess what you're getting? A reverse DDT onto the floor. You're like, God damn it.
You know it's coming.
You know it's coming. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's one time I remember my older brother, like, and it's one of those things where you're like mad.
Yeah.
But you're like, I wish someone was like recording it. Like, even as a kid, like, I wish that was on TV. I walked out of the kitchen and I was holding a plate of like cookies that I was going to eat, and he hit Sweet Chin Music from the doorway.
Dude.
Like, it just kicked my face.
Innocent
and like,
cookies.
Everything flew everywhere. The plate broke, and like I fell down, and he just was like, ah! Like, before sucking was a song, he's like, you fucking gay, dude, fuck you. And you're like, ah, God damn it, that was probably
I would have been
the
pissed if I
coolest
got
thing in the
hurt
world.
or had blood or anything like that, broke something. I'd be pissed about the cookies.
Dude, you have glass in your eye, like, I can't even eat these fucking Chips Ahoy no more, dude.
Spilt milk.
Oh yeah, crying over spilled milk.
What a dick.
I think the only thing that I was really ever bummed about that my younger brother did once, and I remember like punching him and then him crying.
Dude, you're right in between a younger brother and an older brother.
I have an older brother and an older sister, and then my younger brother. And my older brother, you know, he moved out when he was 14 years old. Like, he moved and lived with his dad. So like,
okay.
Me and my younger brother were always in the house together. And I remember one day I, like a fucking idiot, like came home from school and I started stacking scoops of ice cream on like a fucking huge cone, that like these gigantic waffle cones. I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I don't know why, like, and he's like, I didn't know why I did it because I knew you were going to punch me, but I just did it anyway. I'm like holding the cone, and my younger brother runs up behind me and he just grabs it like a football and throws it into the street. And it was like, looking back, I was like, that's the funniest thing you could have done. And I was just like, oh, like I'm standing there and he's like, yeah. And I just ran up behind him and punched him in the back of the head. And then we got into a fist fight, and it's like, trying to explain that later is like, what happened? It's like, and then I couldn't say what happened because I was breaking the law. I was putting too much ice cream in a cone when I was not supposed to be having ice cream. So then I had to like lie about what happened. And it's just a ball of lies where Kyle can't lie that he threw it in the street. It was just, you had to like have this thing where like, look, we fought and we'll never talk about it ever again. It's just
so you both got in trouble or no?
No. The thing was, we had this thing where like the last thing we wanted to do, especially when we got a little bit older, is piss off my mom.
Right.
So like,
Just like the principal, you guys
dude, it was like,
came together.
look, we
Let's
know.
not get Sue involved.
It's
AKA
like,
mom.
we know if we fuck up,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, we're going to be fucking hurt or something. That was the other thing too, is like disguising injuries constantly.
Yeah.
So we did not get injured when we got home because she would just be like, you fucking idiot, your arm's broken. And you're like, God, you hit me and you're right. And I maybe shouldn't have done that.
I got 2 injuries.
Yeah. It's just like, what can we do to this? And my mom wasn't abusive. She was just like, man, this lady worked 3rd shift. She didn't need to deal with stupid boys constantly.
3 boys and a girl. I mean, raising 4 kids, not easy.
Very dumb. And Kyle and I easily were the stupidest boys in 2 counties. We were easily the dumbest children.
Why stop at 2? You could go 3. Try count.
It's wild how, because where we grew up, we were in Royersford and Spring City, so that's Chester and Montgomery.
Oh, okay.
And like we
I was
would
gonna
just
say maybe even Berks.
yeah, I mean, if we went to Berks, we'd be like, yo, who's the dumbest people here? Not today. It's like we were fucking stupid. And there were times where like I would have to, oh man, there's one time, again, we're dumb boys, and it was actually right by where the dome was.
Okay.
Right by where the dome was. Before the dome was there, that
Yarn factory,
there
right?
was a yarn factory that came right to the sidewalk.
Okay.
And we used to break in there all the time and do shit, just like break shit. You just go in and break shit in a fucking abandoned building because that's what you did. And me and my brother found this room full of like just glass bottles, and we're breaking them, we're throwing them. And I don't know how Kyle did this shit, but he threw this bottle up against the wall, and it didn't just break, it like popped and exploded. And we were wearing shorts, and he got a shard of glass like in his thigh. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's like gonna run home, and I'm like, stop. And I'm like, all right,
Let's figure it out.
I gotta pull this out of here. He's like, well, what are we gonna? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, we gotta pull it out, and then we gotta bandage it, because if mom finds out we were in an abandoned building breaking bottles, she'll be like, why was he there? And I know your brother was there. And then it's just like this interrogation where like
snowball effect,
dude. And it's like, you only had omerta for so long.
Right.
Because your mom's like, you don't think I'll pull out international torture techniques to get you to fucking talk? It's like, God damn it. Like, I know. So like you had to pull it out, and then you were just like, the weirdest thing is I would like take like a sock off and just hold it and hold it and hold it and be like, hopefully it'll stop bleeding. Hopefully it'll stop bleeding. And it's just like, you had to really then get home, then put a Band-Aid on it, and just hope that like later in the day you weren't limping. Like if you, like the amount of times where I had thought, like I've never broken a bone, but there are times where I definitely thought I did. And the amount of times I just had to like power through how hurt I was just so I was not questioned, so I could get back to the woods to do reckless shit. Get out of here, man. I will take all that pain just to go hang out in the woods with my boys and curse.
Well, so you didn't finish the story earlier though, that you peaked when you were 5. How did you end up at a different weight class? Or different.
So what happened was, when I was 5 years old, I was wrestling, and I won a district-wide wrestling tournament.
Yeah.
And it was...
Which, awesome.
Dude, it's the only time in my life where I remember just being, like, unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, just like a juggernaut. Like, I remember picking kids up and throwing them down and watching... Like my coach being like, yeah, whoa, all right, buddy.
Return him safely.
He's
to
like,
the ground,
he's good.
Yeah,
I'm just like, no, he's not. Like, I'm just like, I will fucking eat everyone. Like,
does he have armpit hair?
Dude, the only 2 people that I remember being pumped was my mom and my dad. My dad, and keep in mind, my mom and dad were divorced at the time.
Yeah.
But my dad just being like, yeah. My mom like, do it again. Like, pick him up. Like, my mom is a bloodlust crazy person.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's what you fucking do.
Now, did she yell out the right stuff? Because my mom always be like, turn him over, turn him over. Like,
see,
stuff that didn't really correlate to what wrestling. Like,
I think my mom was just like...
more sexual.
I think my mom was just like, yeah, beat him up. Yeah. She didn't know the fucking way.
Yeah.
But it was
just
just
being
like...
supportive.
Yeah, always. Just like, yeah, break his arm, Ryan. break it in half. And that was another thing too. I remember I fucking suplexed this kid and his head hit the mat and his nose started bleeding. And I remember like being like, it stopped the match. Yeah. They had to like, I won out of a technicality. And like people were like, oh man, you got to watch this kid. And my mom's like, well, it comes with the territory. Like he's out there doing it. It's like just completely just like, yeah, my son murdered your son.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so relax.
Maybe not have a pussy for a baby. It's like, yeah, she's right. But it wasn't until the following year where like I was still in this weight class where I was fucking kids up.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, these kids who weigh the same as you are getting destroyed. Let's bump you up because just for their sake, because there were kids like even before we got to that wrestling tournament the following year, there were kids that like I would go out on the mat and they would forfeit. They just wouldn't even wrestle. Yeah. They'd just be like, I'm not doing that.
No thanks.
And I was just like, yeah. And I used to fucking ham it up like you would. I would like make my face get real red. Yeah. And like, I got to a point where like even my coach was like, Shaner, stop. You're going to blow a fucking blood vessel in your eye, you fucking maniac.
So I've never seen you in a singlet, but I picture like did you have like the six pack and like the muscles on the side?
I was a kid. I didn't start filling out until I was like, in my senior year of high school, dude. Like I was always in good shape, but I was never like jacked or anything. And as a kid, I was a scrawny, dumb boy, but I was so like, I will fucking tear your face off. And not give a fuck. So it wasn't until the following year where my coach was just like, hey, luckily I got the same coach. Like that was the thing that the coaches changed. Because you're not like wrestling for the school. You weren't on the Rams. You were on like the Panthers or the fucking, you know, all this other crap. So like my coach was like, all right, how about this? We put you in a different weight class because clearly these kids don't want to wrestle you and like these kids will. And let me tell you something, man, weight classes are a real thing. And they like, I got out there, I think I was doing all right, but I was definitely, there were a couple kids who were like, you know, I've been short my whole life. So, like, you're also dealing with kids who are, like, way more wiry than you, and you're just, like, honestly, it's like wrestling Mr. Fantastic. You're trying to get in, they're, like, coming around, like, I didn't even know you could do that. And these are also kids that, like, some of them, because they're in a different weight class, some of them are older.
Right.
Some of these are older kids. So it's not like you're not wrestling in your age, you're wrestling in your weight class.
Right.
So, like, if you're, 6.5... and you're wrestling an 8-year-old? Yeah, it doesn't seem like much.
Now it's not that much if it's like 37 and a 36-year-old.
Dude.
But back then,
that's a totally different monster.
Yeah, you got that like older bully
not only
strength.
that, you also have 2 more years of experience.
Mental too.
2 more years of mat experience. And you probably, and I know for a fact, some of these dudes had hard-ass motherfucking fathers. So it's like you can see across the mat where these guys are like, do you ever see a dad who's like laying on the mat yelling at his son and the coach is like, all right, get him, John. And the kid's like, dad's like, shut up, John.
Dude, and you know what I noticed? That dads like that are one of two things. They're high school heroes who are really good and they're trying to make their son just as good.
Without a doubt.
Or they were pathetic and they're trying to make their kid better than them.
And it's like, and in a way, I can respect both. I can respect both. Like, it would be shit. Like, let's put it this way. If I put my kid into wrestling.
Yeah.
And I saw that he had even a glimmer of like, whoa, you're good at that.
Yeah.
My whole thing would be like, let's keep pushing.
Yeah.
Let's get you where you need to be. And if I was like one of those guys that like didn't do anything, like if I was like not athletic, like I've seen people who have like unathletic parents and they're like, why can't you just join book club or something like that? But like, I also knew dudes who like his dad was like, he worked for Boeing and was an engineer and like super huge egghead. And the guy was like, yeah, I can also dunk. And his dad was like, my kid will fuck you up in basketball. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm all for that.
Dude, I got a story to tell you that I've never told anyone. And I think it's eventually going to be like a story I could tell on stage, but I'll tell you first. So my biggest regret is cutting weight my freshman year. So I'm the same height.
Yeah.
I wrestled 136. I should have stayed at 142. Then I wrestled 145, 152 my junior year, and then 160 my senior year. And
Damn.
my mom told me that recently we were talking about, I was like, I think people that are in comedy are somewhat on the spectrum.
Sure.
And my mom goes, I tried. I got you tested. Turns out you were just malnourished from cutting weight. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is the weirdest thing to tell me. Like, you thought I was special needs, but it turns out it was just because I was starving myself in wrestling.
Yes.
Like, she waited 25 years, almost 30 years.
She's like, I let you do the most detrimental thing in your life.
Yeah.
And then I thought, maybe you're just a little retarded or something like that.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah, it's like I thought you were just a little
touched in the head.
something.
Yes.
Turns out, no, you were just, dedicated to a sport.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm like, it's the most ridiculous
Thanks,
thing
Mom.
ever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was the thing I said before. Like, my older brother, he was a very good wrestler, and he was cutting weight and making weight, and he passed out at dinner once. And my mom was like, not that my mom wasn't unaware of these things.
Yeah.
I just don't think my mom thought that it was that drastic.
Right.
Lost her shit. She's like, don't fuck with my children's health. And like, I remember her coming to matches because we would like go to watch my brother wrestle, and her flipping the fuck out on this guy, Coach Kohler, who ended up being, so my head principal, Pat Kohler, was the assistant principal.
Okay.
So both of these guys knew my fucking mom, and both wanted nothing to do with her. But I remember the day my mom showed up and was just like, on the side during there are people there wrestling, and they're watching this lady.
Yeah.
And Kohler
get involved.
just like, you fuck, and you're watching this finger, and the guy's like holding a clipboard, kind of like, what is this?
You could tell by his notes he was not prepared for this.
At all. Had nothing.
He had the whole day planned.
He's like, I was not to, it doesn't say here, get reamed out by a fucking 5'6" lady. Didn't know that was going to happen. But it was, it was crazy watching like that happen. And like, you would think, this is the other thing too about my mom. If you would think that seeing my brother at that time, I think he was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Or 9th grade. You would think at that time, other 8th and 9th grade boys would make fun of you for having your mom show up and yell.
Yeah.
These guys were just like on the side, like, what the fuck is this lady? Like, it wasn't like oh, look at your mom fighting your battles for you. It was like, who the fuck is this lady? My mom didn't even, I don't think she even mentioned she had a son at one point. She was just like yelling at a guy, like, you fucking piece of shit. Yeah, and he's like, who the fuck let you in here? You're a crazy lady. He's like, no, my son, Mark. And he's like, oh, fuck, shit. And he's like, and I think she referenced like, and you're making these boys do shit they don't want to fucking do. It's like, man, this lady, and we're like, me and my younger brother are sitting like in the bleachers, like, yeah, we don't know that lady. We don't know who. Yeah, she needs to be put away. I don't know. Whoever her children are should be given a lot more respect. I'll tell you that much.
Were you, was your brother, or you were a superstitious athlete?
What do you mean?
So,
like Michael Jordan used to wear the same shorts all the time.
Yeah, I before a wrestling match, I used to have 2 peanut butter jelly sandwiches, 2 bananas, and 2 Gatorades. I always eat and drink the same thing, and I would always fold my clothes the same way. And if I didn't, I'm like, oh, I might lose.
No, I think
it's crazy.
I think the only thing I did is I would play Mortal Kombat 2 and try and win. I'd be like, if I can freeze someone and do a fatality, everyone's dying tonight. That's what I thought in my head. I never had any rituals like that. I think the only thing I did that I remember when I got there, we would do warm-ups.
Yeah.
And one thing I guess it wasn't like a superstition, but I always do it. We would have to do basically suicides.
Yeah.
And when I would come back from the you had to do 3 suicides, and then once you came back the 4th, that's when somebody else takes off.
Yeah.
But when I would run back, I would dive and flip.
Oh, snap.
every time.
Yeah.
And they were like, stop doing that. But like, that was the thing I did. That was the only thing I was like, I gotta dive and I gotta flip and I gotta hit the mat.
So my sophomore year, I upset to do better than I should have. My junior year, I choked and I got second. And I should have won. Then my senior year, I flipped out at my mom when she dropped me off for the finals because she dropped me off at the wrong entrance. The wrong entrance of the gym, not just to get in the building. I'm like, if she only would have dropped me off. So I started losing. My mom left the building. Like she walked out. She didn't watch because she was like, I'll never hear the end of it. This is his last chance to see her. I ended up winning, but she goes, yeah, thank goodness I left the building. That's why you won. Like,
oh, wow. She put that on you.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I'm like, but that's how psychotic, like wrestling, I feel got us prepared for a career in stand-up comedy. It's all you out there. And it's like, these jokes don't do well.
I will say that too. I've said before too, is like, I don't mind team sports at all.
Yeah.
But like, I do know, like, I'll be part of a team if I can do it individually.
And we all feel like we're part of a team.
Exactly.
Being the Philadelphia scene.
It's a very different, it's like, I that's where I kind of lost. I mean, when you first start doing stand-up, or at least when you first start going to open mics, you don't really know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And I remember, there are two paths you can go, especially early in this city anyway. You could go stand-up.
Yep.
Or you could go improv.
Yep.
Which one are you going to gravitate towards more? And I remember going to, I never did it, but I did go to improv like shows because like, I was like, oh, we'll see what the fuck this is all about. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah.
Like these people? And like they would sometimes come to stand-up shows and try stand-up, but I was like, I don't ever want to do what you guys are doing. What the fuck are you guys even
and they're doing a team.
They're doing it together. And that was the thing, is like, you guys have such a support group on stage, you aren't even thinking about failing.
Right.
You're just like, if something doesn't work, it's fine because my buddies are up here, and if one of us goes, we'll all go, or we won't go. And it doesn't matter if we go because we're all together, we're all having a good time. It's like, and you're also joking about inside jokes that nobody fucking knows about. And it didn't make any sense to me. And I was like, all right, I see. I'm just watching people have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm watching what people have a good time. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed watching stand-up when someone was having fun with it. But if you don't think that watching someone douse themselves with gasoline and light a match wasn't a learning experience, you're fucking out of your mind. And that never happened with improv. You never saw someone bomb at improv where they were like, I'm never doing that again. It was just like, I've watched careers. I've watched people get on stage, do 5 minutes, and then disappear for the rest of their lives.
Really?
There are some people I've seen get on stage, do a set, and I've never seen ever again.
Get out of here.
And it's because they got on stage and they're like, I'm doing it. And I'm going to get up there. And I totally respect it. I totally know what you're doing. You get on stage, you're like, yo, because I said the same thing to myself. I was like, the first time I did stand-up, I was like, if this doesn't go well, I'm just never going to do this again.
Yeah.
I literally said that to myself. I'm like, if this does not go well, I'm never going to do this again. I'm just going to take it as like a pipe dream or like a thing I had, and I'm just concentrating on something else. But I've watched people get on stage super confident, and they start opening their mouth, and you are watching them like turn the knob on a bomb.
Spiral.
You're just like, and it's just a matter of time till I blow up on stage because no one's laughing, and then I'm just gonna never return. And you like, I mean, you would see it at open mics, you would see it at showcase shows. Like they would just get on, there'd be a mic before the show or a mic after, and you're like, who the fuck was that guy? And it's like he never came back.
Dude, and I never told this to you, but about 5 years ago, 2018, I think it was, I had came to the Raven Lounge, and you were the only guy that I watched do an entirely new set. Everyone else was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you were the only guy that treated the open mic for what it's supposed to be, and that's what's paid off for you now. I
went to every open mic I went to, or at least every week I went to Raven Lounge. I had a new 3 to 5 every week. Because I was just writing. So it's all not just because I was just writing so much. I had written so much.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I didn't even know. That's why I started doing stand-up, because I wrote all these fucking jokes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this would be funny. Like I would write them and be like, yeah, it'd be fun to just never do that ever. And so,
dude, because I get so much shit for not being in the room during the open mics at my place.
Yeah.
I said, well, you got one of two things. One, guys do the same set
Sure.
every single week. I go, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I go, now I've done it for a year. I've seen the same set for a whole year. Or guys go up there with nothing planned and they're riffing. I said, I don't.
Yeah.
And that's how I not want to spend my Tuesday night.
I also think like I don't think I've ever gone to an open mic and been like, you know what, I'm gonna do crowd work the whole time. I think we got messages to listen to. I totally forgot about that shit. We were in the zone for a second. Let's see how
enough
fast
about the midget wrestling.
Let's see how fast it takes you to put those headphones on. Blah 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 blah. And he nailed it. A lot of people can't figure it out right away.
Yeah, Shane.
Walls up.
Just calling in, dog. Fucking honestly, hated as shit. But that is what it is. Yo, so my boy just died in a fucking car accident this last fucking Friday. Fucking depressed as shit, went to the bar, got drunk, drove his car fast as fuck, had a bump, lost control, went into a tree, exploded. So that's that.
That's that?
But, like, brother, what do you think of death? Like, what do you do? You've had death happen. What's up with that? Yeah, man. And then also, like, brother, I'm just trying to fucking figure out how to get sober right now. But, like, then that shit happens, and it's like, brother, I just want some fucking booze in my system. But, I don't know. Honestly, just thoughts. I don't need no condolences. He was a boy to me, but, like, honestly, he fucking kind of had it coming. Anyway, fucking alcoholics, dog, what are you gonna do? 5 double jacks are gonna get you there. Alright, man, later.
There's a lot of layers to that onion.
Yeah.
I don't know how. You want to just dissect them one at a time?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I know you said you didn't want any condolences. All right, fuck that guy.
Terrible.
No. Yeah, that's a huge bummer, a huge tragedy. You know, as a guy who's drank and driven a couple of times, yeah, it's never a good idea, but sometimes you just do it. Luckily for me, even with the collisions I had, I did not injure myself or anybody else. As far as my thoughts on death are, you know, I don't know what happens when you die. I don't think anybody does. I think that's the greatest part of death, is that you don't know what happens. I think if we all knew what happened when you die, you'd have a lot more you'd either have people minding their fucking P's and Q's a lot more, or you'd have a lot more assholes. I think this is the best part about it, is you have this equilibrium with people. You have like a whole lot of people doing one thing or the other, and it's like not knowing what happens when you die is the best. I think it also, if we're looking at it from like a conscious way or a subconscious way, there's a possibility that death is what you make it. Death is what you believe happens when you die. If you believe that you're going to hell, there's a possibility that you will. If you believe you're going to heaven, there's a possibility you will. And it's all your idea of what heaven is.
You're going to manifest it either way.
Exactly. I mean, believe me, there's times that like I think about like, what would happen if I died? I can only hope that when I die, I'm launched into the nether regions of space, and I discover new planets that no one's ever seen in the celestial slumber and beauty that I totally deserve. That's what I want. I want to be able to sleep in the middle of 0G while watching fucking things evolve and de-evolve and explode and fucking, you know, just form in front of me, like finding out the mystery of the cosmos. That's what I believe will happen when I die. Or I'll be able to be that thing like where they do they invite paranormal investigators to a house, and they're like, there's a person in this house with so much rage in it. That's what I can only hope that I am. I'm the spirit in the house that's just like breaking shit, not hurting you, just like, yeah, the TV's broken again. I'm like, yeah, dude, I fucking did that. That's who that was. That's what I could only hope. And as far as being sober with this, here's what I'll say. Death is never an excuse to do anything. Grief is one of those things that a lot of people look as like, an excuse. And I'm not saying you're wrong for what you're doing. You're going to do and you're going to grieve and you're going to be bereaved in any way that you need to do. But I will say, as a lot of people, like, they justify it. They justify their actions because of grief. And I know it's hard to get over. But I will say, just because something happens doesn't mean you need to perpetuate a problem with yourself. If you recognize that what you're doing is bad or detrimental or, even dangerous, you already know that. So therefore, you're a step ahead of it and you can make a choice not to do it. I know it'll be rough, but honestly, if you're looking back at what you even said in that phone call, you're like, yeah, he had it coming. 5 Jacks, 5 ginger, Jack and Gingers is like, dude, you're doing the same thing. So it's like, maybe back or try to like reflect on that, step away from it, and just focus on something else that maybe will be more of a constructive way to grieve. And what that is your own prerogative, but drinking isn't going to help you in any way.
Whatever that is masking.
Oh,
what's
without
really
a doubt,
going on.
without a doubt. I'm not the type of guy who would even advocate. I don't advocate for sobriety because I understand being drunk kind of rules sometimes. But I will say, being drunk and being sad, it doesn't help. I don't think I've ever drank because, like, if I'm sad, I'm never like, it's going to cheer me up getting this depressant. It's like, what's going to make...
negatives don't equal positive.
It doesn't work out that way. So I would say, honestly, just try and back away from that, stay away from that, or at least focus on something that may be a little bit more constructive. That's the only thing I can say. And as far as, your buddy dying, look at that as a way, as almost like not a warning sign, not a harbinger of what things may be. He's not the fucking Jacob Marley to your fucking Ebenezer, but look at it and understand it and then make choices accordingly. That's the only way I can, that's the only thing I can say. Especially when you have a boy or your friend dies because of something you are also actively doing. That's such a crazy thing.
Consider yourself lucky that it didn't happen to you.
Because it could have easily. So it's like, take that time, reflect on what's going on, and make choices accordingly. Whether they'll be the good or bad ones is up to you. But I'm just saying, how many times can you see the same thing happen until you're like, maybe I should try and do something a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I think that's my opinion on it. That's my opinion on it. I think we got one more message. Hopefully it's not as morose. I hope it's a guy who like blew up in a plane.
Update.
Yeah, he's like, actually.
Yeah, shit.
Oh, I was like, fuck the guy.
That's what I just thought.
I was like, holy shit, he's back.
Round 2.
Yeah, shit.
No, that's the same guy again.
Hey, y'all. It's Mel again. I was just thinking, so when I was in the Army, we were in Korea, and probably it's a secret. Do you guys ever have tasers? Tasers are real fun. And we used to go and be like, woo, and then we'd smoke cigarettes, and it feels like your whole chest is on fire. It's crazy, let me tell you. Then, this one time, we were like, I bet we could do donuts with a forklift. So then we were doing donuts with a forklift, and then it fell over. So we were like, whoa, the contractors totally have a really good forklift. So then one of the guys like spinning it around, and it went through the bay doors. And then we tried to see how high you can get the bay doors with the forklift stuck in it, and it's kind of high, honestly. And then it fell down, but that knocked the forklift loose. And we got the other forklift picked up with the second forklift, and then both of them worked still. So we were right next to an airstrip. So we got to the airstrip, and everybody's got like nunchucks, and we got like liters of soju and shit. So we're like racing the forklift, but then the next day, everybody got yelled at. But nobody gave anybody up, and that's the power of friendship.
Buddy, before you go, So when comics come to Soul Joel's, they normally have a niche following. When they walk through the door, I'm like, you're here for the show.
Yeah.
You have a wild range of fans.
So
like,
crazy.
dude, the first one, you're like depressed. That one, she couldn't have had more energy.
She was so great.
I think she literally finished her cup of coffee and then called. She could not.
The juxtaposition between the two,
So different.
wild. Also, thank you for serving.
Yes.
Thank you for
Right.
your
Sorry.
service.
I should have started with that.
Thank you for your service.
100%.
I couldn't tell if that was a joke.
I don't know.
She said she had nunchucks at some point.
Look, I don't know.
Which army?
She did say she was in the army, and hey, that's your tax dollars at work, dude.
Yeah.
Just going over there, helping us out in Korea, driving forklifts, doing donuts,
Yeah.
flipping them over.
Because of them, we
Hey,
have a job.
Thank you so much. I can
freedom
go.
of speech, protecting
You know
that.
what? I can go into any grocery store and buy any version of Fruity Pebbles that I fucking want. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. I am, that was, I appreciate you calling. We actually don't get a lot of, weird, we don't get a lot of female callers, but thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you for calling. That was very nice of you to do so. I do think that what that was with the difference between each caller, that made me feel like I was at a family Christmas party and I was just walking around.
Yeah.
And then I came across like my Uncle Jeff, and he's like, "Look, my boy's dead. I'm trying to fucking get out of it." And I'm like, "Oh, Jeff, that's fucking wild." And then I turn, and then my niece is there. She's like, "I drove a forklift and I flipped it over." I'm like, "You goddamn right you did, baby. That's fine. Let's go eat some pie." It's just like, it's so crazy. I love it. Thank you for calling. I don't know if there was any question
There wasn't a question. I
or
think
no, that was just
ended.
That was just a story.
The message ended. Yeah.
That's great. Have you ever driven any heavy machinery
No.
doing stupid shit? No? Nothing? Nothing?
Not that I can remember,
God
dude.
damn it.
Have
man.
you?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, dude. I fucking fucked around on a fair amount of things.
Well, the way you're dressed is you just finished your shift.
Yeah, I just had to, dude. I was driving a fucking power jack, dude. I'm fucking forklift certified, dude. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But actually, right where you are, right, not where you are, where you were with the Comedy Dome,
Yeah.
across the street used to be Diamond Glass.
Okay. Yeah.
It used to be Diamond Glass, and that was an abandoned glassware warehouse. And we used to go in there all the time, and they just, dude, there were so many abandoned buildings in Royersford and Spring City that they just like got up and left.
And just left it.
And they just left shit there. And it's amazing. And don't get me wrong, wouldn't change it for the world.
Right.
But looking back on it, it's like, you guys didn't think
Yeah.
at all that anybody was going to come in here and fuck around with this shit. So, and it's funny because later my fucking cousin Bill and my cousin Mitch got in trouble for doing the same thing, but they've kind of fucked up. There was a forklift in Diamond Glass that we would go, and it wasn't operational,
Okay.
but there were like 6 of us, and we would push it to a point, and there were like these ramps that like it would go up and down. And we found this part in Diamond Glass where there was a ramp that went down, and then like it was not a hairpin turn, but a good enough one where you could go down to like a sub basement. So we were like, and we knew once we got it down there, it was never coming back up.
Yeah.
So we're like, yo, who's riding on it? Who's going down? And we're like, yo, let's all get on it. We all got in this, like, there was a guy on the top of it. There was a guy on the back of it. Someone was steering. And I remember as soon as we started going down, we're like, this is going way too fast. Because, like, we pulled a brake, like, we released the brake, and it was just, like, immediately going. And as soon as it picked up speed, we couldn't turn it. And we drove straight into the fucking wall. Like, straight into the fucking wall. And the whole thing, like, stuck in it almost diagonally because the forks went into the bottom part of the concrete. And when we did that, part of the wall started, like, we thought we were going to take down the entire building. And I was like, dude, we almost destroyed part of Diamond Glass. I remember we were laughing about it like, this is the best day of our lives. Dude, we were like, we almost destroyed an entire building. Like, we were like walking away like, we did it, man. We were like, and you were there, and you were there. We'll never forget this day for the rest of our lives.
Where the dome was when we first started digging to make the stage.
Yeah.
And I was, dude, we started digging, and I didn't know about the yarn factory. All we started was digging up all this yarn. I felt like I was digging up a graveyard of like Raggedy Ann. Dude, it was nothing but a ton of yarn.
Dude,
And-
you just came up with a better book title, Graveyard of Raggedy Ants. That is the best book title. It's like, what is this about? Just you like,
yeah.
Graveyard of Raggedy
You'll find
Ants.
out around
You'll
chapter
find
3.
You'll find out. We'll
Yeah.
never address it.
Dude, but and when Attell came, Attell's asking all these questions,
Yeah.
going, "What's over there?" We're like, "Spring City." We're like, "What's that?" The Schuylkill River. What used to be here? We're like a former yarn factory, and he goes, "What's that?" I'm like, the Reading Railroad. He gets on stage. He was like, "Oh man, I never knew my career was gonna end between the Reading Railroad, the Schuylkill River, across from Spring City, on top of a yarn factory." But here we are, and you're like, dude, like. He put that all together, and you're like, because he gave a shit to ask those questions, but then remembered it. Dude, the crowd went nuts because he knew he just
knew
made
all
that,
the fucking dude.
just made that up.
It is wild to know that there's just like sometimes it's great he asks questions. Like there are some people who come to town, they don't want to know fucking dick
Right.
about it. But there are times like I'll be working at Helium and people are like, what's like a weird part of the city?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, oh, I'm just trying to like make it like I just want to like mention something, to get the crowd on your side.
Is it
And
always Kensington?
To tell you the truth, I always tell them since we've been recording here and since I've had to take the train past Girard and past Berks, K&A. Fucking Allegheny, the stop at Allegheny on the Market Frankfurt line is jarring. It's the most ridiculous thing when people talk about like how bad Philadelphia is with drugs and things like they're referring to that corner. They're referring to K&A Street. In the summertime, that is an amoeba. I wouldn't even call it a zoo. It's this.
Should I have parked closer?
I mean, I don't know where you are. Luckily for you, it's fucking cold out. Those guys are like stiff. They're they're hunched over, but they're like they're like
Bat. All right. What's the sign for? Let's wrap this up.
dude, they're like cavemen from Encino Man. They're just frozen that way.
Thank God for you.
Yeah, dude, they're fine because it's winter time. They hibernate. They're like, but they come out like locusts in the spring, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is one of those things where I've told people before too, like especially comics who are like, oh, I just want to check out part of the city. I want to go here. I heard about Fishtown. I heard about University City. I'm like, yeah, cool. I was like, so we only have 2 subway lines. And they're like, oh, that's easy to navigate. I'm like, yeah, but there's certain parts of them you don't want to go farther on. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, so the Market Frankfurt is notorious because it goes east and west. And the thing is, if you go too far west, you're kind of fucked. And if you go too far east,
Don't fall asleep.
There's a good Goldilocks area.
Do not miss your stop.
I tell everybody that if get off at Girard, don't go past Girard if you don't have to. Don't ever go past Girard Avenue if you don't have to, because once you start going into like Berks and Somerset and Huntington, and it's like, dude, Allegheny is one of those things where I remember when I blew my knee out.
Yeah.
When I fucked my knee up and I had to go to physical therapy, I had to get off at the Tioga stop, and I had to then walk with a brace that went up to the top of my thigh to the top of my ankle to get to Allegheny Avenue. And I remember being like, I am a target. Like, you would just walk and be like, motherfucker. Dude, there are people like, you kind of feel like you are a wounded animal and there's just cheetah all around you. And you're like, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You're gonna die. And you would hope that like when the sun sets, dude, I would walk back in the dark. Like, fuck me, man. This is the craziest thing I had to do. And then you would hope for that one day, like, that someone would give you a ride. Like, those were like the best days ever. It's like someone's like, yo, I'll pick you up. I'm like, thank God. Because like there's nothing worse than being on the subway with your leg extended that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
yeah.
bend it, and it's just like you're blocking everyone. They're like stepping over you or walking into it, and you're like, oh, they're like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, I can't do anything. The only upside to that is
I'm not being a dick.
I'm not being a dick, but the only upside to that is that's where I learned if you look like it's kind of like have you ever seen that one scene in Shaun of the Dead
Yeah.
where they pretend to be zombies and the zombies leave them alone?
Right.
If you pretend to be a fucking drug addict, they will leave you alone. I would put my leg out and I would just kind of do this until I got to a certain stop where I could just be like, all right, time for me to get the fuck out of here. And I'd fucking hobble my ass
All of
off.
a sudden you sobered up.
Yeah, without a doubt, dude. It's just like, don't look like you're blown away. That I tell people that all the time too. If you're traveling in certain parts of the city, not scared, but don't look like what? Don't be like, what? Like, mouth agape, eyes wide. People know you're not from there and they will pick up on that. It's just like, look like you always know where you're going.
Whenever I'm walking around, I'll twitch.
Oh, yeah.
Just yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Hands in the sweatshirt pocket, and then you just kind of twitch your thing.
Dude, the other thing too, talk to yourself. I will have full blown, dude, when I used to leave here and go to the subway, when it was dark, I would have full blown conversations out loud with myself.
Don't go past Gerard. Don't go past
I would
Gerard.
just be like,
Don't go
yeah,
past
and
Gerard.
it's like I gotta put that Netflix subscription. I gotta renew that. I gotta do it. Like, just like going over the list of my day. So people are just like, man, do I really want to deal with that fucking guy? Like, if you look crazy, there's like a good chance the crazies won't fuck with you. It's like you're doing audio and like audio camouflage.
Dude, last time I was in the subway, I was running Broad Street as Cuppy, the Dunkin' Donuts mascot. So they left me alone. Anybody was wearing, and I come out and there was a street vendor that was selling t-shirts because the Sixers were in the playoffs. He goes, now you know you getting on TV wearing that.
Yep.
No one messed with me.
Dude,
I was in costume.
I think
and not even an intimidating costume.
yeah, but a costume in any sense is like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
what is this now? But
This
it's like,
dude's obviously crazy.
I mean, yeah. If you're riding the subway wearing a Cuppy outfit, you are out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
The only thing that, another thing that will get you out of it, and I thought about doing it once, is if you're wearing light colored sweatpants, kind of like what Dylan's wearing. If you're wearing light colored sweatpants and you have a whole bunch of brown stains on the back of it, everyone leaves you alone.
Yeah.
Everybody leaves. Dude, there's not one person who wants to fuck with shit.
Yeah.
Ever. And they're like, even if they were like, give me your money, they're like, I don't even
Could
want
be,
it.
could not be. Let's leave him alone.
I don't even want it, man. It's like, dude, you gotta play the role. Cause like there are certain parts of the city where it's just like, I gotta do as the Romans do.
Yeah.
You gotta fit in. And if you don't, you run the risk of being like, they'll be like, I know you're not. I know you're faking. And you just gotta, dude, I talk to myself all the time. There would be times where I would like often like just rub my face a lot. Just doing this is like another thing where people are like, do I really want that guy's money?
No.
Like, do I really want it? Like, no, you don't. Just leave me alone. Try to look as intimidating as possible. I tell people like, walk everywhere like you got a shit and look like you are on your way to commit a crime.
Philly toughens you up no
That's
matter what.
all it is. And that's another thing too, man. When I don't think about the way my face looks when I walk anywhere.
Yeah.
But like when I was in Madison, Wisconsin, easily one of the nicest places on the planet.
Comedy on the state, right?
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm walking.
I heard it's amazing.
It's amazing. And everyone is out of control nice.
Yeah. Hot room.
And you don't know. And I'm not even talking about the room. I'm talking about the area. Like you're just walking around and people are like, hey, how are you? And you're
What's wrong with you?
dude, the look on my face is just like constant scowl.
Yeah.
So like I would go in places and I'm just like looking at stuff and I can see out of the corners of my eyes, people like, what is this guy doing? What is this guy doing? And they'll be like, can we help you? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, sorry.
Dude, on the flip side, I've heard comics.
Sorry.
I heard on the flip side, people that are not from Philly that talk to the comics and they go, just go to Wawa. And then they'll call them up like, did you tell me to get food at a gas station?
Yeah.
Like they can't figure it out. Like,
it's like, you know what it is? I also tell people, they're like, what's the best? There are people who ask like, oh my God, so like what's better, Pat's or Geno's for a cheesesteak? And really I tell them like, well, that depends, what time you want to get diarrhea. It's all fucking flank steak and cheese whiz.
Yeah.
It's like when people like, I only know people who live in Philadelphia because they don't give two flying fucks about those goddamn cheesesteak places. What you do is you go to fucking Nick's roast beef, or you go to Nick's in the Reading terminal and get roast pork. Like that's where I tell people, I'm like, if you really want a good sandwich, go there. There. It's like, as far as like where it comes down to like Wawa, sure. I guess some Wawas are, and I tell people, I'm like, some Wawas are safer than others. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, I'll tell you, the one on Lehigh Avenue, maybe not go to. And they're like, why? I'm like, well,
I've had some bad experiences.
I'm telling you right now, you might die.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing. And that's another thing too, is like, they're like, which part is the dangerous part? I'm like, kind of everywhere. It's not even like, it used to be like, that's a bad part of the city, that's a bad part of the city, and that's a bad part of the city. But when it starts spilling out in like small pockets that you're like, oh shit, like nowhere is safe, really. It's like, dude, just keep your head on a swivel and don't look like a fucking mark. Don't look like a fucking mark. I don't know. I try to tell everyone, like, where should I go? I'm like, depends on the time of day and depends on what time of the year. It depends on what time of the year. It's like colder months, you have a better chance of getting where you need to be because there will be less people out. However, the warmer months, a lot of people will be in like certain parts of the city because it's either like there's places they can go into where it's air conditioned, and it's like, it's all this dumb city math that you never thought you'd have to ever fucking figure out. Which I was not ready for because I grew up in the suburbs in a rural area where like you never had to worry about like crime really. Yeah. So then when you moved to Philadelphia,
there wasn't crime, let alone pockets.
Oh no, there was the only crime that happened was like when someone was dragging a deer behind their truck because they were just trying to show off, and then the cops would be like, "Hey," the biggest crime.
It's out of season.
Yeah, it's like, "Hey,
you're supposed to be using your bow and arrow."
Don't. Yeah, it's like, was that a doe? Is that a doe?
Yeah.
It's like, God damn it, you got me. But like the other, it's like breaking up underage drinking. That was the biggest crime in Royersford and Spring City.
Yeah, what field were you hanging out? The woods.
The only thing that kept the police in business was underage drinking.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
As where in Philadelphia, I didn't give a fuck about open container laws. Still don't.
Yeah. To fit in, you're faking.
Dude. I'm faking drug problems to get to where I need to be. Do you think I give two shits about drinking a bottle of Granddad on the subway? Nobody cares. It's like one of those things where a cop's like, you're not shooting anybody right now. And that's kind of how it is at K&A. There have been times where I've gotten off that fucking subway stop and I can't even say there isn't a police presence. There are cops there. There definitely are cops there. And I've watched cops sit in a car and watch people shoot up in front of them. And they're like, well,
he's only hurting himself.
He's not yelling. He's not yelling.
Not in the mood to do paperwork.
It's like, it's like, kind of like, all right, that guy's shooting up drugs, but he's not really he's not selling them. Oh, he's got a gun, but he's not waving it around. All right, maybe he's showing it a little bit, but he's not okay, yeah, he shot it, but it hit a street light. It's like, what? You have to like go up and blow someone's brains out for the cops to be like, well, now maybe, I don't know, it is cold out. I don't want to get out of the car. So it's like that in itself is like just knowing that the level of like, sure, it's dangerous, but the cops are there. I'm like, you better not rely on any of those motherfuckers. It's like, people are like, what if I call the cops? I'm like, what if you do that? That's a great question. Nobody should have to rely on, like, when they're in here, it's like, don't rely on the police. It's kind of like wild to even tell people that, where like, you could be like, yeah, you could call the cops. if you wanted to. I don't know. Like, do you like colors and like flashing around? That's really what it'll do. They're not gonna do a lot. They're gonna ask you questions, and it depends if the person, whoever robbed you, stabbed you, shot you, did whatever to violate you is still there, and then you give a description. Good luck. Good fucking luck. It's like, I don't ever want to promote vigilante justice, but we need a Batman or something. Because it's like we don't have anybody. Like, the cops can only do so much. They only will do so much. So it's like, fuck it. It's like, just try not. Really, what it comes down to is either be so aggressive where people want to stay away from you, and just try not to be a victim. That's really what it comes down to.
Pretty simple.
It is simple, but some people can't. They don't have that bone in their body. They don't have it in their body to be like, what do you mean? I'm like, look, you got to be unapproachable to a point. And you got to know when to turn it off. And you got to know when to be like, walk a little bit faster. There are people like, yeah, I'm taking a stroll. I'm like, where are you at? Where even in the park, even in Rittenhouse Park, I'm like, that is a nice area. It's directly in the center of Center City. Less than a year ago, a lady was stabbed in the face.
Oh, God. Dude, you made a sharp left there. I didn't realize you were going to say that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you can say like, oh man, look at all the lights on the trees. Isn't that nice? Does that lady have a knife in her face?
Yeah.
It's like, she sure does.
Not the glass that went in your brother's leg.
Yeah.
You're talking knife.
Yeah,
face.
I'm talking a knife in the face. And then less than a month later, there was a lady, I think it was on like fucking like 19th and Chestnut or 17th and Chestnut. A chick on a bike was like stomped nearly to death by like a group of teens. And it's like, yeah, dude, watch it. It's like, where are you safe?
Dude, why don't you just go back to prank phone calling like we were growing
Oh
up?
my God. I would love to see just one kid be like, look, we're not going to be punching people. We're not going to be stabbing people. What we're going to do is we're going to be lighting up dog poop and putting it on. Yeah. I would love it. I wouldn't even be mad. Yeah. Honestly, if I owned a home, even in the suburbs or rural area, and I opened my door and I saw a flaming bag of fucking, I'd know what it is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'd still stomp on it anyway.
Well, dude,
I'd still do it anyway.
When we were growing up, I grew up on the Jersey side, but same thing, suburbs. We would everybody had the same cable company. So we went to next door neighbors. We were changing the channel. Dude, we watched this husband and wife lose their mind.
That's great.
Then they finally figured it out and they closed their curtain. I was like, but it went on for like a good 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We were hiding in the bushes.
Sure.
Change the channel. Hide in the bushes. Change the channel.
Love it.
Dude, it drove them insane.
I would even be
not dog shit. That was your thing.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like, I got to be honest with you. The term criminal mischief is gone.
Yeah.
Nobody does criminal mischief anymore. It's either murder or drugs. It's like there's no gap anymore. And the worst part about it now, criminal mischief is TikTok bullshit at a mall. Did you see that one guy? What the fuck? This stupid kid who needs to be smacked in the face who walks around with bodyguards annoying people.
I want to fucking kill
Fuck that kid.
Dude, Dylan, I love Dylan's face. He went from who are you talking about
He knew
to
exactly who I was
fucking hate
talking
this
about.
kid.
Yeah.
Because he starts fights and he has a giant black guy with him, and then he wants somebody to come up to him so that his bodyguard gets in the way. And I'm just waiting for him to do it to like an MMA guy that can beat up his bodyguard.
That's the dude. That kid.
It's not if, it's when.
It's gonna be one.
I hope it's soon, and I hope it's to a point where he has to go through like facial reconstructive surgery. Fuck that kid. That's not criminal mischief. That's just being an annoying prick.
Yeah.
For fucking TikTok views. However, what I will say is, when it comes down to criminal mischief, I am also okay with light vandalism. Light vandalism, I'm totally okay with. If I had a mailbox and somebody blew it up, I'd be mad. But I also wouldn't be like, we need to call the police. I wouldn't be like, get the cops here, let's investigate, blah, 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 blah. Dude, I told my older brother, and this is where I was like, dude, I kind of looked at him and was like, dude, you're becoming that old. You're becoming that old, man.
Yeah.
Don't become that. And I guess, in a way, I kind of get it. Where my older brother lives, he's bitching and pissing and moaning about these kids riding on dirt bikes all around. And he lives kind of on like a back like gravelly road that lives like he lives in this small part of this rural community, and he's bitching about these kids on their dirt bikes like every fucking day, man. Like they're doing this shit, and blah blah blah. I'm like, all right, Mark, yeah, that sucks. And I told him, I was like, you know how you stop this? And he's like, how? I was like, what you do is you build yourself a nice dirt ramp in between your house, and don't say anything about it. Just build it, and every day make it a little bit higher and a little bit higher and a little bit higher. And he's like, I was like, one of these kids is going to take that ramp way wrong, and he's going to paralyze himself from the neck down, or maybe even worse. And then what you're going to have is a bunch of kids thinking, okay, I saw what Johnny did. Maybe I won't do that. And you know what? That kid's going to paralyze himself too. And then eventually they're going to be like, no more fucking dirt bikes. Your two friends are paralyzed or dead. It will, what you need to do is become Mr. Racich. You need to start. The
episodes come full circle.
You need to start telling these kids they can do anything, and then set them up for failure. Sure, these kids are annoying, but you know what? They're not going to stop. The more you start bitching about their dirt bikes, they're going to be like, well, fuck you. I'm allowed to ride it. I would be like, whoa, those dirt bikes are cool. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to build. You know what I think you kids need? You need a ramp.
Yeah.
I think you kids need a ramp. And I wouldn't even say anything. I wouldn't even tell them that I built it. It would just show up one day.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yo, you know,
like it was unplanned.
You know, it'd be sick if you ever think about taking dirt bikes off that ramp?
Yeah.
Dude, all it takes is one. All it takes is one kid to just horrifically maim himself on a fucking dirt bike. And then those dirt bikes will go away. It's like one of these things where, like, we immediately jump to, like, you know, I got to put a stop to this now. I'm calling the police. I was like, dude, look, I don't think I'd ever rely on the police to stop something with, like, children. Children know two things: pain and fear. The cops are only going to be like, they're the man now. You know, they're like, I don't like the cops. Cops. Like, you know what will fuck you up? Watching your best friend get his face stuck in the back of a fucking dirt bike. And you'll never forget it.
Yeah.
You'll never forget seeing fucking flesh come off of his head. And you're like, oh my God, I fucking can't. I will never go back on my dirt bike ever again. All it takes is one weird, wild ass injury for you to remember for the rest of your life. And I don't think any, again, now kids don't do that. And like, I don't know how many times it's going to take in Philadelphia with all the dirt bikes and four-wheelers and shit like that. I don't know. But you know what no one's doing on those roads?
Nope.
No one's building ramps.
No one's building ramps. Not on Route 1.
I'll tell you right now.
Not on the boulevard.
You know what? I'm running for mayor next year. And I'm like, look, I'm going to tell you guys right now, there's going to be ramps.
Yeah.
You get used to it or don't. It's like, how many kids, if you want to stop, like, no, kids aren't afraid of anything anymore. So, like, you got to reinstill fear. And I talked about it on multiple podcasts. We need a fucking new urban legend to scare children. We don't have it anymore. We need a way to, like, just like, yo, I want to go out after 9 o'clock, but this is happening in this city. Like, we need a firestorm to just scare kids that isn't guns, and it isn't like, you know,
Googleable.
Yeah. Oh, no. You can't be like, oh, I found out what this is. I fucking saw that it's like so easy to debunk. You need something that's like, dude, this is a fucking weird paranormal presence that is killing children.
Dude, thanks for having me on.
I think we are wrapped. This has been the End Podcast with Ryan Shanner. Joel, thank you so much for being on the fucking show.
Yeah.
Make sure you call the hotline 833-443-5300. We'll address any comment, question, concern, issue with your dead friend, or knocking over forklifts and shit in Korea. Thank you so much. Later.